Hi folks, you're with Tassus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about medical immigrants coming to the West. So third world peasants coming to the West, and they're severely handicapped, as the thumbnail to this video is an illustration of just one such example. So these third world, very severely handicapped peasants coming to the West as immigrants and needing very expensive lifetime medical care. So at the Western taxpayers' expense. Now, why are these people sort of being brought in? Now, I've noticed that there was a shopping centre not far from where we live. There's I don't know what you call it, sort of a migrant hostel type, a group of small apartments and condos, that sort of stuff, and the government sort of block rents these sections of this housing estate that's private, but they block rent it and they put these immigrants in. Now they came around in a group, and I just happened to be at the grocery store as sort of a wave of them came in, and I think the average height would be 4'8" tall. Midgets by any sort of stretch. It was a warmish day when I saw them, and they had terrible deformities, in their knees and their hips and their feet, and really bad cases of rickets and so on. So they've had a very poor diet from a young age, and they have handicapped children that are requiring wheelchairs and all sorts of expensive medical care and medical equipment. Now, these people are penniless. They're third world peasants. They've got no skills. They can't speak the language. They've got nothing to offer the West. Absolutely nothing. Yet for some reason, there are various activist groups and NGOs that believe that these people are refugees or a former refugee because their country is poor, and these handicapped people cannot access the very best medical care in the world. Because of that, this makes them refugees. Now, it takes a lot of mental gymnastics to arrive at a refugee status from that. They unfortunately were born in a very poor country. They decide to procreate even though they have insufficient resources to care for any children. Handicapped people begetting further handicapped people, and on it goes. There's no government policies to stop that. It's a real law of the jungle gig out there for them. But because of this, because their country is mismanaged, because they've got piss poor government, because they've got corrupt warlords running the place, all this sort of stuff, because of that, they're entitled to come to the West as refugees. Now, I don't know what they're ever going to be able to do here in the West. Given the health of certainly all the people I saw, I doubt they could do any work. Maybe some very basic cleaning work or something. I don't know. Whatever work it would be, it wouldn't be very well paid. So they'd certainly be on welfare for, again, their entire life. So why you'd bring someone in sort of in that state's quite beyond me. Now, the way Western governments are selling, or tried to sell welfare, tried to sell immigration to the Western population, and none of them wanted it. Nobody wanted this. Wants this forced immigration from the third world. But the way they sold it is, hey, we've got a real skill shortage. We're so short on skills here, and the only place we can go to get these skills is in third world peasant shitholes. That's where all the doctors, all the engineers, and all the geniuses of the world reside, in those shitholes. It's true. And then we have to bring them all to the West because we're so short on skills here, and these people have those skills. Now, the politicians telling us this, and the talking heads on the media who are all globalist flunkies and stooges, they knew that was an outright lie, and they hoped they could just bullshit their way through. But it actually took longer than I thought for people to work out that no, geniuses and engineers and doctors do not come from third world shitholes. They don't. So that was a lie to begin with. But then the refugee thing, where the NGOs and the United Nations are constantly dreaming up new categories of refugee. Like they dream up new categories of what a white supremacist is, or new categories of what racism and oppression is. They're always dreaming up these new categories, which means expanding and expanding and expanding the definition. So, soon it'll be someone who's got an ingrowing toenail if they come from a third world country will be a medical refugee. So these people are being brought in and they're not going to fit in anywhere. They're illiterate in their own language, let alone English. So I don't know what can happen. That certainly from what I've seen, if there's any with an IQ above 80, I'd be surprised. But nonetheless, they're being brought in. Now, I don't know about you, but I sort of have a problem with that. I think, well, if you want to bring in piles of people who are refugees, like you ask the voters and you put it to a referendum, and you say, well, should we bring in these illiterate peasants from the third world because they come from a dirt poor country that has been always dirt poor and will be forever dirt poor. But if white people go in to try and help them not be dirt poor, no, that's racist colonialism. No, you can't do that. You fucking white Nazi. So they have to be left to their own devices, which means it's going to stay a dirt poor shithole forever. Does that then justify or warrant or give these people a right or entitle them then to come to the well-run countries of the world and get free medical care? Now, it is terrible to see a handicapped child. I mean, there's no question about it. We all wish that wasn't the case. We all wish these things didn't happen, but they do. Now, I've traveled a lot in Islamic countries, and the number, because inbreeding is really terrible in these Islamic countries. And so there's just masses of heavily terribly handicapped to such an extent you wouldn't even believe such handicaps could exist, or someone could still be alive with such handicaps. But in the Islamic countries, a handicapped person, whether they be mentally or physically, is under the direct protection of Allah. And there's no more protection you can get religiously than that. So if you harm a handicapped person, then you directly deal with the wrath of Allah. So no one will the idea of euthanasia or killing these handicapped kids at birth is unthinkable in these Islamic countries. Any doctor or family member that does it would be damned to hell by Allah. That these people are directly protected by Allah, no intermediate or anything. That's a very serious sort of thing in the Islamic world. So you get all these handicapped. Now, these handicapped people in turn would love to come to, and their families would love to come to a first world country with its first world medicine and its qualified, experienced doctors. They all want that. I mean, why not? But the more of them come to the West, the more the overall medical establishment has to ration what it has and increase the price. Because a lot of these people, they can't afford to pay it, so the government has to pay it for them, or they need pro bono. So really they just reduce or dilute the medical services available to the citizens of the nation, the original citizens of the nation. So it's hardly helpful at all. Now, I don't know why the globalists want this. Is it to weigh the West down, to further divide society, to further place tripwires all around so that they can bring these handicapped people in and then have your handicap phobia, you damn fascist Nazi racist? Is it they want to further opportunities to divide society and crush white people in the West? I don't know. I'm not really sure why they do it. But it's not we just want to help. We just want to help, because the hard-nosed globalists, and they don't want to help. They don't give a shit about these people. Same as they don't give a shit about feminists or black people or anything like that. They just want to use these, as I see it at least, as another method of controlling and crushing the white populace. But I'd like to see your comments below. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.